Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joyanne Lageray here at Matured Musicians Group, and I'm here with Malcolm. Malcolm, can you tell me how to pronounce your last name?
It's Monaghan, Monaghan,
Monaghan.
Monaghan. Yep.
Monaghan. All right, thank you. I do want to give a shout out to Luscious Mouse Studio and operated by Chad Quist in Edgewood, Washington, before I begin our interview with Malcolm. He
Well, thank
has
you.
a very collaborative, creative environment there for drummers, artists, and guitar players. So if you have any needs, do look him up. He is on Facebook as Chad Quist and also as Luscious Mouse Studio. So I do he does the producing of my music, and I'm sure you couldn't get a whole lot better quality for the price. So do try
Mhm.
him. And good afternoon, Malcolm.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you on Matured Musicians. So, one of the things that I do ask, you probably have seen some of my interviews,
hmm
is your background. I'm really interested in when you started and your, kind of where you were at the time and kind of a progression to where you are today.
hmm So let's start from the beginning on that.
Yes, yes.
So I was so a little backstory. I was born on the 13th of '94, January. I was very sick when I was
Ooh.
born. I was 2 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah, I was a
wow.
preemie. They put me on a ventilator for 6 weeks. That's why I had problems with my lungs. Still to this day, I have scarred lungs. So I only run off 45% lung capacity, not 100.
Wow.
Um, I was brought in to my family's, my now adopted family's home when I was 14 months. They took care of sick kids for the state. So Gina and Hollis Monaghan are the people that adopted me and saved my life. They're the only parents I've ever known. But we grew up in a Enumclaw, but
Oh,
having white parents and being an African American child, there was a lot of struggles then. It's
yeah.
obviously a lot better now. But when I grew up there, a lot of racism, a lot of problems growing up in that. But I've always had, I guess, a sense of rhythm, sort of say, I guess, since I
Yeah.
was a baby. My dad, there's a home video. It's kind of funny. Uh, when I was like 4, and my dad was dancing with me in his arms, and it was James Brown. And I guess when James Brown would do the scream, I would do a little baby cute. Anyway,
Oh,
one of those things. It's somewhere deep in the archives of blackmailing for life, but that's besides the point. But
it's
uh, I was about 6 years old. I think it was 2002. My parents said we're going to go to a concert. I'm 6 years old. I didn't even really
it's
put,
concert. Yeah.
I didn't put it. I didn't know what the concert. It ended up being Chicago, the band Chicago.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Um, and I remember the drummer did a drum solo. Um, and I could just remember feeling vibrations in here and all over my body. Like, what? Because one of the problems I suffered from was I was nonverbal until I was 3 years old. I didn't have a pain tolerance, and I know this is a lot, but this people stick with me.
Excuse
This
me.
all makes sense in the end here of how
Right,
all
right.
these stories will line up in one big conclusion. Uh, so thanks for your patience for sticking with me on this long journey. So I went to Chicago and I saw them live, and I remember watching the drummer, and I was just in awe. I mean, just to hear the sounds, because being ear sensitive, and I'm even
Right.
still being 29 now, I still have ear problems. That's why I lean in, because I can't really hear anymore. Um, that's partly why. But I remember watching the drum solo, and I was just like
Blown away.
blown away. And my parents asked me on the way home. They go, "What do you want to be?" And you wrote, "I want to be a drummer."
Oh,
They're probably like, "Yeah, yeah," any
yeah,
parent, right?
yeah.
And so fast forward, I would take wooden spoons and my little bongo drum, and I would. Yes, I know I'm gonna admit this on live, but I used to listen to the Dixie Chicks a lot, and I would play
Oh,
from
yeah,
front to back.
yeah.
I would play the album from front to back. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just tapping along.
You're doing it.
I was just doing what I was doing. So, short story short, keep doing that. I was about 8 years old, and my dad. We were at the Puyallup Fair, and there was these guys playing on stools and water jugs,
Oh, yeah.
and I was just really memorized by that. My dad's like, "Shoot, I can make that. I'll go home and make it right now," and he did. And my
Ah,
dad was a firefighter for
oh, cool. Yeah.
30 plus years, Air Force, military firefighter, and a firefighter civilian. Um, and my mom, she helped kids her whole life. She was, very educational, very smart. She's the reason I even graduated. So
Oh, wonderful.
My dad taught me how to, stick up and defend myself. But
Yeah.
the real hero is my mother, Gina Monaghan, for, getting me through school. Helping me through school, talking to the teachers because I have autism, so I had a lot of issues
Oh,
in
gosh.
school, um, from teachers to everything. And uh, but I'll get to that part in high school in a minute. But uh,
Well,
so
wait a minute, Malcolm. I've got a question.
yes, ma'am.
Um, I do have a viewer who's made a comment. It's Donald Melidor. He takes a video. He was taking video films of bands,
Hmm.
especially Howard Comfort's band.
Yep.
And he's no longer in this area, but he said, my grandmother was a city clerk in Enumclaw.
So I don't. I mean, again, for me, I
Uh-huh.
might. My parents maybe would have, but I
Yeah.
don't because I was,
Yeah.
I
Too
only
young.
lived in
Yeah.
Enumclaw from 14 months to about 7 years old. So
Okay. So
I
you
don't
would.
really.
So
It's
one
all
of the
more of a
questions,
blur.
I'm sorry. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is whether or not um, you had ever got a drum set, or how old were you before you finally did get one?
And that's where I'm going to get to. That's
Okay.
exactly where I
All
was
right.
going. Good, perfect timing. So my dad made the water jugs in the bar stool, and I banged
Yeah.
on that. And my dad owned a bar for a small time in Ruston.
Yeah.
And there was this old symbol on the wall of that bar. It used to be Coles, in Ruston Way.
Uh-huh.
You remember when it caught fire?
No, I'm
Yeah.
not from
Well,
here, but my
musicians that
husband would.
watch this, if they remember in '04 when it caught fire, it was my dad's bar, and he was a firefighter. But that's a whole other time story. But at the end of the day, there at the time there was a symbol, and I remember I went in the backyard because at this time we lived in Puyallup at the time, and I got a stick about this big, and I took my knife and I carved out my first cymbal stand with a stick with a branch, and I put the cymbal on top, and I played that kit like that for 2 years. Now here we go. So I was about 9.5, 10 years old. I was playing outside. And my dad pulls in the driveway, and there's something in the back. I'm like, "What's in the back?" It was my first drum set. So, um, so short story short, I played that kit for a long time, a long, 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 long time, probably eight, 8 years.
Wow.
From pretty much almost 16. I think I was like 14 or something like that. And then my dad's like, "I want to take up drumming. So can you find me a drum set? I'll buy it, and we'll play together." So we go searching, and there's this beautiful orange Gretsch kit that
Yeah.
I saw.
Mhm.
And my dad says, "What do you think about this for me playing?" I said, "It's a great kit. Get it." Well, it was actually my kit that he got for me. Fooled me. Wouldn't have thought. I didn't even see it coming. Didn't even think it was even mine. So got the kit, um, and that's been my kit for the last since I was in 8th grade. I've had that drum
Oh
set.
my gosh. It's a long time. Must be a good one.
Yeah, that the with the bass drum head on the back, the beater side.
Yeah.
I've had that same drum head on the back of the bass drum since I got it. I haven't replaced it. Imagine how many times that bass drum's been hit. I haven't replaced the
Yeah.
back end. That's how great they are.
Did
So
you ever?
just for the drummers out there, if you get Aquarian 2 super kicks, you probably only have to buy one. And if you're going through them like butter, that means you're heading too hard. Uh, but that kit's been my literally my money maker. It's been my only kit. I don't got enough money to buy another one, so I just put money in that one to keep it
Well,
going.
musicians aren't the best paid people around here.
Hmm.
So, I do have another listener. Her name is Rosie, and
Okay.
she's saying hi to us today.
All right. Hi, Rosie. Don't mind me leaning in like this. I just can't hear her, so bear with me.
Yeah, he's got a hearing problem. So, how do you do that when you're playing the drums? Do you have it like a amp there where you can listen to it?
So usually what I do is I wear earplugs. Usually, sometimes, but I shouldn't. I should, but I don't.
Yes,
I should
yes,
say.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but people ask me how do am I able to keep on rhythm when I can't hear at times. Well, I watch your hands. I
Wow,
watch your feet. So like if someone's tapping, as long as I know they're tapping and I'm winding up, then that's not a problem. Usually I watch their hands. So if I know the song, if it's like a song I know, I can watch your hands and I can know where I'm at in the song. So that's how I usually.
wow.
That's how I think. When it
Yeah,
comes to
you
that
hear it.
part. So
Yeah. So after you got this, how old did you say you were when you got the drum set that you have now?
I was I think 14.
Okay. So what was your first paying gig with drum set?
Man, you're making me think. Okay, I was 19 years old. I was actually just out of high school. Just graduated. There was this band on Craigslist called Silver Century, and they're looking for a drummer. And one of my friends saw it and sent it to me and said I should go, try out. So I called the guy. He messaged me right back. He says, "Well, we'd like to hold you for an audition." I said, "Okay." I go down there. The song they wanted to do was Rock and Roll Led Zeppelin, Brown Eyed Girl, Van Morrison, and then something else. So I'm like, okay, I do it. I thought I was just gonna, because how they made it seem at the time was like there was multiple drummers, so you'll get a call back, whatever. But so I get a, I didn't even leave the room, and I got the job. I was 19. I was not the, and I got actually sorry on this note to this question. I have to rewind backwards a little bit for one reason only. Is
Sure.
Miss Amy Putnam. I got to give a shout out to her. She was my drum teacher for years. She taught me from age of 13 to about 16, 17. And she was the principal percussionist in the Tacoma Symphony for like 20 years. And I think one of
Wow.
the only females to do
Yeah,
it.
that's a feat.
If there's any drummer out here that I'm friends with, you should look her up, for one. Someone even asked me jokingly, Malcolm, would you challenge her to a drum off? No, no. She's taught me a lot, but she whooped me every time. But what the one thing she's taught me is she's taught me consistency. She's taught me time signature, meaning it's 4 4 5 4, whatever. One of the lessons that are, I guess, exercises that she taught me when I was teaching students, I do the same thing. Is you have two drum sets facing each other. You do a simple groove, and in that simple groove, you go off and do a 4 measure fill. So digga 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 one. So it's 4 measures, and you hit on the one. So we'd do that a couple times. Then we'd add 4 more. So then it would be 8 measure fill. Go again. Then it'd be a 12 measure fill. So what this taught me is to know where the one is every time. You know what I mean? So if you're doing like a 16 measure fill, which is a lot. But if you're doing it at a certain speed, it doesn't seem that fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Boom. There's a one. So when you go through these exercises, at some point you get so muscle memory that you can do that. And that was what she taught me.
Yes. Wow, she sounds like a great lady. What was her name again?
Her name was Amy Putnam, and not only was
Amy
she the best, Amy Putnam. So Amy as in Amy, and Putnam,
Putnam.
Putnam.
Got it. We have a couple of comments. I'm not sure who it is saying hi. Can you please put your name on here so we can see it? And somebody else just says, wow. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you if you've ever been out to what used to be Stonegate in Tacoma. Did you ever
Yes.
play the
So
drums
I
there?
was going to get on that too. This is where the
You know,
next.
I I thought I recognized you because I went out there to a jam with Dave Nichols, who's passed now, and
Mm.
JC McCormick, and there was a drummer there, and I was wondering if it was you.
I don't know if it was me.
It was country music.
So, now that I explained the Miss Putnam thing,
Yeah.
now I'm gonna explain that Silver Century thing because it actually flows into the Stonegate.
Okay.
So, I played in that band Silver Century from like I think I was 19. We had a lineup change and we changed the band name, so I didn't leave the band, but we ended up. So I probably was in there like 2 3 years, and through that I a lot of learning as a young musician.
Yeah.
What betrayal feels like, what false promises feels like, what racism in music feels like. Not from bandmates, but from people, because we're all the guitarist was like native Latino, and then singer was a ginger, and then I was black, and then our bassist was black. So we had the color of the rainbow in this band.
Yeah.
Uh, but it taught me being young because I did a tour at that age.
Wow.
And my dad, at the time, sadly, he's still alive still, but he was battling stage 4 throat cancer. So going through a lot of stuff with that. So I was kind of not in the right frame of mind when it comes to performing and it comes to that. But he wanted me to go do the tour, so we go to Medford, Oregon. We were promised, I think, 6 shows. We only did 2. So it was a really valuable lesson in learning to line up your stuff before you tour, make sure your logistics are in order, make sure you got your money and everything promised, meaning if you have to write a contract, you do that. At 19 years old, I had no idea what the hell that was or even how to do any of that. So it was a big learning experience for me on how to be a musician and uh, and what even inner band conflicts are.
Oh, yeah.
So I come back and I'm 21 at this time, and meaning I left that band completely. And the only person I have contact with, his name is Johnny Lyons. If you ever see him around, he's usually in the South Sound, like Lacey, but I don't
Yeah.
think he really
No.
sings or does anything anymore. But he was the lead singer of that band, and he had one of the best voices I've ever heard. And even though we don't play as musicians, he's still one of my best friends of all time. One of the best advice he told me when I was going through the racism in music and all the stuff. And if he sees this video, I want to thank him for it, because one thing he taught me was use those words and fuel as fire and go get it. I didn't understand what he meant by that, but as I got older, I'm like, now I get it. So if someone says, screw you, blah 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 blah, whatever. Okay, fine. Then I'm just gonna go do it then. Because that's been one of the problems I've dealt with in music is I play a lot of heavy stuff, like it'd be AC/DC, a tribute band, an Aussie tribute band. Well, if you look at all these bands, none of the drummers are black. And people, when they come see the tribute bands, they go, okay, that guy's accurate, that guy's accurate, that guy, you are definitely out of place. I get that a lot, more than what people realize. And sometimes people will tell you, oh, well, Malcolm, that's not happening. They don't see what I see, though. You know, People can be judgmental to the point you won't even see it. I can. Um, but I don't quit though either. It's helped me become a better musician. It's helped me become a better player. And now that I explained that, I'm going to segue into 2 bands. And I know it seems like I'm all over the place, but my life is all
No.
over the place.
You go
So
right
here
ahead.
you go. So the Stonegate. So first thing before the Stonegate comes up, I got in a band. Uh, my aunt found it, as you know. I think I mentioned my bio, United by Music North America. And Amanda Gresham and Barbara Gresham, or Barbara Hanman Gresham, are, they are godsends. They are the angels that the world does not deserve. And I'll tell you why. I got a call. My aunt she lives in the harbor. She found a magazine, and in the magazine it said United by Music looking for artists. And I'm kind of like, okay, because my aunt said, give him a ring or whatever. So I called them, And this is before that Medford tour I just told you about.
Uh,
So I come back from that tour, disgruntled, upset, don't know where I'm going to go in my
yeah.
21 years old. Don't know what I'm going to do as a drummer, you know. And so I get a call, and it was a voicemail like on my phone. It came up, emergency voicemail from Barbara Hammerman. So I listened to it. It says, "Well, we want to do auditions at Jazz Bones in February
Oh, I
2014.
know.
We'd love for you to come in and do them."
Yeah.
So I do an audition. I made uh, the audition, and now 8 years later, I've done about probably over 600 shows with them. I've toured around the country with them 4 times, to Memphis, to Anaheim, to St. Louis,
Yeah.
Oregon, obviously Washington, Eastern Washington. I've had the pleasure with this band to play with, blues artists like Kingfish. I played with him multiple times. I don't know if you know who Kingfish is. One of the
No,
best
I
blues
don't know who he
guitarists.
is, but
You
uh,
need to look him up.
I look him
He
up.
is the next BB King. I mean, he is the next BB King. Bobby Rush, he's a blues artist that was back on the Chitlin circuit. I mean, that's how long ago that was, but he's still alive and kicking and touring. So I got to play with him. Kenny Neal, who's from New Orleans. I got to play with him. That's another legend. You know, the Neville brothers.
I'm country,
You
so
don't know
I
none of
don't
these
know much
guys.
about rock
Whoa. No, this ain't rock.
or
This is
jazz
blues.
or blues
This is
or
blues. So you know how like for rock, Elvis is kind of the king.
yeah.
Now I'm gonna probably make up people upset, but to me, yes, Elvis was amazing, but to me, he wasn't the king. The king of rock and roll was like Little Richard,
Yes.
uh,
Ah, I
Chuck
agree.
Berry.
Who?
Those guys, Chuck Berry.
Who's Chuck Berry? Yes,
Those guys are king of rock and
absolutely.
roll. Now Elvis, don't get me wrong, and I know
Yeah.
that makes a lot of people upset with this controversial comment. He was amazing. Can never take that away. He did so many things to music that I think at the time some brothers could not do, but he did it. So he gets respect to me forever. But you can't not just say he was the king though, because there
Yeah.
was other people at that
Yes.
time that were just as successful, like Chuck Berry,
Right.
Little Richard, Ray Charles,
Yes.
all three of those.
Right.
I mean, Ray Charles was not just blues; he had some rockin' numbers too.
Yeah.
Um, Sam Cooke, all these guys, all these cats were, in my opinion, not given the credit
Yeah.
they were fully deserved. And so I try to just make that clear as well. But um,
Yeah.
playing in these places, it's taught me to be very humble. So if you look at like Elvis, he is the royalty of Memphis. Well, the royalty in New Orleans is Dr. John, Fats Domino. These are all
Yes.
big, blues cats. Then you have Kenny Neal and the Neville brothers. Those are kind of the four music families of New Orleans that are very, very treasured. And there's many more, and I know I'm missing a lot, but just at the top of my head, those are the four that come to mind for me.
So, what genre would you say that you fit into the best, or is there really no one thing that?
So my dad taught me growing up that because I used to play in my room, and that's how I taught. So I taught myself how to drum for about 8 years of my life, and then 4 years of my life I took lessons, and then since then I've been just taking what I've learned from my lessons and what I taught myself, and either keep it and just try to keep up because I forget a lot of things. But
That's another.
my dad said you can't be playing one genre. You can't just do rock. You got to do a lot of other stuff. So I've gotten to like Afro-Cuban, Latin, um, a little bit of kind of Bollywood style, just playing indie rock, alternative. I play a lot of stuff that I keeps me fresh because that's the whole
Yeah.
goal here. I don't want to be stumped. I
Yeah.
don't want to musically um, like come to a dead end, if that makes sense, when it
Right.
comes to
Yes, it
guessing
does.
stuff.
Yes.
So, but the style that I think I do, the three that I do really really fluently is funk, blues, and rock. Obviously, um, the Aussie stuff. I would say when it comes to tribute bands, that's the hardest. The second hardest, which I did for a while, which was with Howard, was that Leonard Skinner tribute band. I did that for about 2 years.
Howard Comfort?
Yeah, yeah, I played with him for. I've been playing with him since I was
Yeah.
21, but the
Oh,
only band I play with him now in primarily is just Soul Stripper.
yeah.
But I back up his other projects, obviously, if there's no one else I can do it because I'm busy. Um, but the most complicated drums that I've dealt with when it comes to these styles is like Southern rock and rock would be the Aussie for the hard rock, and Leonard's Skinner's music is very intricate, way more intricate than I think people really give it credit for. There's a lot of stops, a lot of pauses,
Yeah.
and a lot of work. You know.
Yeah, I know a little bit about this side of the house. Not
Hmm.
so much the other side of the house.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I jam with a lot of rockers that are doing that kind of thing,
Hmm.
including Howard Comfort.
Yeah.
But I'm country, and that's where I feel the most comfortable, which is probably a bad thing. I should probably feel a little more uncomfortable and learn more rock. But that's where I'm at, and it, I don't really understand the drums. I did take a couple of lessons on
Hmm.
the drums at Guitar Center,
Hmm.
and the guy that was teaching me, um, he left. He left, and he was the one person that I could
Hmm.
understand him, and I could groove to his beat.
Yeah.
But other than that, I never finished that, and I think that I really don't know what drummers do. I just know what I hear, and when
Mhm.
I like a beat or I like what the drummer's doing, it's so easy to sing to.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a guy out there from the Davanos. His name is Fred Holtzman,
Mhm.
and he is the kind of drummer that when the lead doesn't know what the heck I'm playing and nobody else does, he actually cues me right in with the drums because
Mhm.
I'm always
Yeah.
listening to the drums.
Mhm.
And I don't even need a lead. I just need him to play and
There
I know
you
where to
go.
come in. So
Mhm.
yeah, I get it. I get it.
So, and actually now this goes back to where the Stonegate comes in on this.
Yeah.
I explained
Okay.
United by Music
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
blessed
Yeah.
Barbara, sorry, Barbara Hammerman Gresham is, and Amanda Gresham, their mother and daughter. They both run the whole program. They're like I
Okay.
said, look up United by Music North America if any of you guys get a chance. It's an amazing nonprofit organization to help people like me who had a disability and
Great.
struggled as a musician, almost as a rehab facility for me. And the fact it re-taught me to drum better. It taught me how to understand people who have disabilities like I do, and it taught me how not only to understand but to get along, function alongside, and play on big stages with these people. Which 6 years ago I wouldn't have been able to mesh with these people. So they've really helped me become a better me and a better musician. So I just wanted to I mean, I owe them really my life when it comes to this because they haven't, rehabilitated me and helped me. And I can say that with honesty. They, man, sorry, try not to cry. I'm weird. I'm weird. It's just they really helped me out. So, I want to thank you for that, and you guys really should check them out. You want to talk about a band that will blow your band will do it. I'm just blessed to be even honored to be on the drums for them. And I tell everyone I got to keep up. It's not that I mean, I got to keep up with them. So it's amazing. So, um, but the Stonegate, because if I don't say it, I'll forget. Because you brought that earlier, and I
Right.
told you I would bring this back to that.
Yes. Yeah.
I was doing United by Music, obviously, in the beginning stages at that time, but I had nothing going on during most of the week. So I came down there, and I don't know if you remember that little cover band Fusebox for a while.
Yeah.
I was a drummer for them, but you know Bobby Hoffman, right? Bobby Hoffman, he's one of the best Tacoma drummers, along with Jay Douglas. Him and Jay Douglas are, I would say, the goats of the old school drummers in the Tacoma scene. Jay still plays in Chapter 5, which you guys should go check that band out.
Chapter 5 is the name of the band.
Jay Douglas, he's one of the best drummers I've ever seen, probably in Washington. Um, and Also, Jeff Mills is another drummer. I'm just going to put somebody shout out to.
Yeah, I
Might as
know that
well.
guy.
Jeff Mills. I mean, I think I saw something. I think he's going through some stuff. So
Heart attack.
prayers to him, and hope he's hanging tough. From one drummer brother to another. But he plays in Nightwave and
Yeah.
probably every amazing tribute band around here. By the way, that's another band. You want to go feel like you're back in 1980 something again, hearing these classics? Go watch Nightwave. You will not
Yeah.
regret that
I
either.
Nightwave. Yes.
But the Stone Gate was kind of what I found out is the melting pot. So I was 21. I was very timid because I haven't been to a jam since I was like 15. So I'd been a while. And I remember Jeff Cole come up to me and introduced himself as the owner, and he goes, hey man, just have fun and enjoy yourself, and I was really timid still. So I went up and I played these songs. I really didn't play comfortably because I didn't understand. I was really nervous.
Yeah.
And so I was 21, and I then started going to Howard Comfort's jam because Jeff Call, Howard Comfort, I think it was Doug McNeely on drums at the time, Bill White, and then I think Greg Fowler on bass. I went out there and I started hanging around more and more and more, and drummers started to change, and I started, talking with Jeff Call. And one time Jeff Call called me and he goes, I need a drummer. And I was like,
Nice.
for what? Which ended up being the future Jeff and Howard jam, and I drummed from then until Stonegate went out of business. I was their drummer until that was done. And I thank Jeff Cole, not only for him being an awesome bar owner, but he really, in my opinion, kept the South Tacoma music scene going. It's not the same without the Stonegate.
I
If
know.
Jeff Cole ever
Yeah.
sees this interview,
Yeah.
I have to shout him out and say thank you because he's given me a lot of musical opportunities, um, along with Howard Comfort for the last 8 years
Yes.
of using me for whatever he can put me on. And but the one thing that Jeff Cole has done, in my opinion, is he kept the music scene going in that regard. But I've also, being at the Stonegate, networked with a lot of musicians. Some of them I
Right.
actually play with to this day, and some of them
Yeah.
I haven't. But I'm not going to talk bad on that because everything happens for a reason. There's no hate for some of the things that's happened. It's life. I wish some of those musicians the best of luck, because you know what, we all have a place in this world, and we're all meant for something.
That's right.
But it's also taught me, like I said, networking and also just being around some people that are just not human.
Yeah. Well, I feel a little bit like an outsider because I'm a female and I'm an
Hmm.
older female, right?
Hmm.
And music around here is a lot of guy bands. Not to say that the women aren't coming up and there aren't women bands with women in it,
Hmm.
but it still seems to be male dominated.
Hmm.
And I still feel somewhat intimidated by it
Hmm.
because um, they tend to treat me a little bit different than they do the guys.
Hmm.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not a good thing, but I could feel it. So I know
Hmm.
it's there. And I understand. And there's a band or two that I felt were borderline discrimination, but
Hmm.
I just don't go to their jams. I don't put myself in a situation where I feel uncomfortable,
Hmm.
and that has been my survival.
No, I hear you. I totally sympathize with that. I think for me, at least on my edge of it, I tell everyone this: I'm not a woman. I'm not. I don't understand what women go through, mind
Right,
from the mind to the body. That's not me. But all
right,
I can say is I sympathize in the fact that when it comes to the discrimination part and feeling a certain way, and no matter what anyone says, no one can tell like you can't feel this way. They're
right.
not you.
That's right.
So it's no different than with me. People can't tell me, oh, there's no racism in music. There definitely is. Um, I can name a lot of situations, but the biggest one that I had was I was in Fall City
Uh,
playing with a
oh,
band. I'm not going to say the name.
yeah,
I was playing with a band, great people, but it was this saloon in the middle of Fall City,
yeah,
and I get there and I'm unloading, and the guy, he's the owner of the venue, comes up to me and says, "You know, you're the only black person in Fall City, right?"
Oh, oh,
And I was like,
faux pas.
"Yeah, I do. Why do you got to keep bringing it up?" So we're playing the show, and everything's going as good as it can.
Yeah.
And the singer is introducing the band members and all this stuff, and he gets to me, and keep in mind it's quiet. You hear a pen drop, and the owner again says he's the only black person in Fall City at the top of his lungs, and it's the most awkward thing. So then he comes up to me as I'm drumming. Keep in mind I'm drumming, and he's like kind of leaning into me. So I'm trying to play these songs. I'm getting leaned in by this guy, which he's drunk, but that doesn't to me that there's no excuse. I don't care if you're drunk, high. It doesn't matter. Your behavior is your behavior.
Yes.
Um, and so he comes up to me and goes, "It's been brought to my attention. I said something offensive, and I wanted to say I'm sorry. I don't like white people." I'm like that doesn't make it any better. That actually makes it worse. And so I'm playing this gig, and he grabs some drumsticks and he starts hitting the drums as I'm playing the song. So it's the normal beat, crash, 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 and tom hits and all this stuff. So I'm I'm dealing with this guy who not only, in my opinion, had no reason to single me out for one. He's an owner of a pretty well-known establishment in Fall City, which if I were you,
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
know who
play
you
there, and
mean.
I'm
I
not going
walked
to.
out of there. I
So
went
I'm
there to
I'm
a
telling
gym
you,
and
but the
walked out.
difference is when you have a gig, and this is just my thing as a drummer, it the bandmates is who I care for, and I'm not going to screw them over
Yeah.
because that's not fair.
Yes.
Now, if it got any worse, yeah, I would have just packed up my stuff and left. And people already sold me. I probably should have. And you know what? I probably should have. But I have a heart, so I believe if I have a gig, I have to honor that gig regardless of what's happening. So
Yes.
it got to the point where this guy comes up again with drumsticks. He's whacking on the drumsticks, and then he starts stomping on my feet. He's stomping on my bass drum foot. He's stomping on my hi hat foot, so I can't. So it's almost like I'm wrestling this guy, and I'm also trying to play this song at the exact same time. I got to the point. This is what my guitar player did. He goes like this. Are you okay? Like he was thinking I was having a problem. I'm like, no, I'm having the owner trying to like leap in my lap and try to play drums, and so it was
Oh,
just a hellish show. And I think after it was done, in 10 minutes I was already halfway out
packed
of
up
Fall
and
City
gone.
back home. So, you know,
It
it
happens.
was that was one that um really kind of did it. Another incident I had, and the only reason I bring this up is not to cause drama, but I want it to be known because this stuff happens. I was at another gig. No names are mentioned because I care for people and I don't do that.
Right.
Uh, but there was this woman who was dating one of my bandmates, and she's a handful.
Yeah.
She hangs around the scene, and I think if I say it a certain way, you all will know who she is. But we're at a show up in Stockton's in Maple Valley. We're playing. I think it was Leonard Center show. We're playing, and my other bandmates and his girl, my other bandmate from another band that's kind of on hiatus right now, and his girl came up to watch me play for a couple. Well, I guess that guy's woman and my bandmate I was playing with that night's woman didn't get along. So one of them shoved my bandmate's girl, which was the one I was just mentioning that was a problem. So it goes outside. And so they're starting to kind of bicker. And I kind of just said, hey, y'all, we have a show. Let's just kind of calm it down. And my bandmate in the Centered or the Skinner tribute band, his girl looked at me and said, N word, ER on the end, twice. So she called me the N word with the ER twice, hit me in my face twice. She punched me twice, totally hit me. Didn't see it coming. This is a person, by the way, I want to make it very clear, who roams on your music scene, just so you guys know. So I want to make it very clear and known. You might want to watch out for this person. Um, she's a problem. But, I'm not going to go any more on that because that's all I'm going to say on the matter. But those two cases were really an example of, it made me question, do I want to do music? Do I want to keep doing this? I don't do it to deal. I deal with racism every day of my life. I'm in an interracial couple. My fiance's white, my daughter's white. I have enough to deal with on my own in my own family in my everyday life. I have enough to deal with. I don't need to deal with it in music. I don't. My
I
music's my
understand.
escape, not to be thrown back in. You know.
I understand. We have a couple comments. I don't know if somebody left a comment here and he did not identify himself, so I don't know who it was. But after we're through, if you go on Facebook and back to Matured Musicians channel, you'll be able to see these comments and who they're from. But I like the guys to put their name on their message. But he just said, "Hey there, brother." And then the second comment was, "I was at that show in Fall City. Malcolm was a true pro."
Well, I appreciate it. It's taught me to be stronger, and I
Yes.
don't want it to be like my goal is not for pity. It's not to feel bad for me because at the end of the day I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
But yes, and people are going to probably comment. He said he would because he was going to quit. Yes, I did. I did thought about quitting, and for a while I took a 2-year sabbatical.
Wow.
I became a tow truck driver for a while, so I was one of the guys on the freeway rescuing people. I did it for 3 years, off and on through different companies. It was a fun career, but almost getting killed multiple times.
Not so fun. Yeah.
No, and then we had a guy that was on another company. He got hit, I think almost now 2 years ago. This I think this year will be 2 years. He got hit on I-5 by a semi, and he died instantly. And he was 49 and had 6 kids.
I
And what was crazy was the truck that he was hit in, and then the truck that I ran. They looked really similar. So I woke up with like 100 texts. People thought I was the one that got hit, but I wasn't. And so, from those times, even though I loved what I did, flipping over 7,000-pound cars on their four wheels, taking them out of places. It was a skill though I feel like I had, just like my father, who was a firefighter for 30 years. A lot of people can't do either of those jobs, but I
yes.
was able, not only being autistic, which you probably think, what in the hell are you thinking? That's a good question. I guess us Monagans in my family, we usually don't think of times, we just go for it. And so it was something I always wanted to be. So, like, how I look at it is I have both my parents. I have my mom's heart and
Yeah.
compassion.
Mhm.
I have my dad's bluntness and just, I don't hold back when it comes to opinions, and my mouth sometimes gets me in trouble. That's me. That's my father's side. But my mom's side is the heart and compassion, which goes with the towing, having an understanding, being caring, being, there. And so, but it got to the point, my last straw, I think, for towing, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It was a skill. I could still get in a truck right now and go do it. But I took my girls on a ride along, and I did a call that was adjacent to where that tow trucker got killed,
Oh.
but going southbound, not north. And I remember loading up this car, and I looked to my right, and there was a semi coming, and it came real close. So I had to grab the headed back and hold on for dear life. The whole truck was shaking. So all my daughter and my fiance heard was, oh shit, and nothing else. So they thought I got hit. And now this is a ride along. So I just was like,
Yeah.
I said, I can't do this. I don't want them to bury me. I don't want my fiance, her child is dead. Yes, she's not my biological child, but I've adopted her not by paper, but I adopted her by hearing.
Yeah.
And I've raised her since she was 3.5 years old. She's 8 years old. So I can't leave her without a father. She's already had one that's left her. I can't do that. You know, that's my fuel to keep playing. She comes up and says, Malcolm, and she gives me hugs and she says, you got to keep playing. You cannot quit. You cannot quit. She's so cute. You know, that's who I live for. Those stories I told you before,
Right.
I was single.
Yeah.
It was a lot different then. I
Yes.
got a family now. I am a father. As you see on the ring of my finger, I'm engaged now. I can't quit.
I get it. By the way, I used to be a dispatcher for AAA, and I would be calling guys like you out for accidents and for so
Hmm.
forth. So I get how dangerous it is.
Oh yeah, and
But
actually,
so is
towing is the
music.
most dangerous job in the nation.
But so can music be dangerous today. Today is not a good day to be
No,
out
it's
in
not.
crowds.
Exactly, exactly.
I think there's more than one band that's had issues. So, yeah, it takes courage and it takes dedication, and you really have to want to do it, I think, today.
I loved what I did for the years I'd done it. You know, it, I loved helping people. I
Yeah,
loved responding to accidents. I loved
yeah,
being able to make a difference on the road that way. I'm proud of
exactly.
what I've done. When I say I'm retired from it, I am as of now. I am retired from it. I don't want to do it anymore. But at the same time, when I see tow trucks, I get the itch. Like, man, I want to go do it again. But then immediately comes, do I want to go through
No,
that again?
no,
Do I want to make a risk for my
right,
family? Do I is the pay worth it?
right.
Which I can tell you, in my opinion, even light duty tow truck drivers, they should be not getting 18.50 to 19 an hour to be on the side of the road.
I get
That
it.
was my pay. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was making 18.50 to $19 an hour. I should have been making over 25 at least for light duty. Light duty. This is just my opinion though. That
Yeah,
should be light duty pay. Medium and heavy duty pay should be in the $40 to $50 range, hands down. It don't matter.
yeah.
Those guys are flipping over 70 to 80, maybe 100,000 pounds from its side, and you're going to pay them under 30 an hour. I'm sorry, that's not right. That's not
What
okay.
it was, what, Malcolm, what I was talking about was music is getting more and more dangerous to be
Mhm.
in a band and play
Yes.
in crowds and so forth out in the, especially if you tour.
Mhm.
Um, it takes the same amount of dedication and courage to do that as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And I'm glad you came back to it because obviously that's where your heart is.
And that's what I was going to get to. So on that note was, yes, I have the itch at times, but then I'm like, I've had more opportunities in my music career this summer than I probably had in the last 10 years. So, and yes, music is dangerous, but it's fun. And if you have the right, steps in place, you can kind of stay out of that realm. And even if you do a gig where it does
Yeah.
get dangerous, I try to explain to my bands I've been in, let's have a evacuation plan. Let's have
Yeah.
because you just don't know. I mean,
No,
I hate to bring it up. Look at Dimebag Daryl
no,
from Pantera. You think when he was flipping his guitar things around, he didn't get shot in the head?
yeah,
That was in 2003 or something. I don't know. All the people watching this
yeah.
will know. I don't, but I know it was really, really like I think early 2000s. But that was back then. So now we're 20 plus years down the line.
Yes.
That's a thing that people really should take into account. And I've read a documentary. A lot of bands at that time said after that incident, they still look over their shoulder because you just don't know.
No. It could happen anywhere, even a
Yeah.
local bar.
Uh
Um,
huh.
there's a place, it's over in the Federal Way area.
Was that the bartenders that
Yeah,
got killed?
yeah, yeah. I used to jam there. I won't go there now, but I had a feeling about that place, and I said, I thought,
Mm.
it must just be me. And then when this happened, I was like, oh my gosh, trust your
It's
instincts.
tragic. It's tragic. And so,
Trust your instincts.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you have? I usually talk a little bit about COVID. So, how did COVID affect you, or did it have no real bearing?
It affected me a lot when it came to musicianship. I mean, so obviously not to be weird, I got a little chubbier. I was a lot better shape before COVID. I was like almost just 200 pounds, but then COVID hit, and then I stopped working out. I stopped drumming every day. Before COVID, I was drumming probably 6 days a week, 3 4 hours a day. I was doing whole workout routine, 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and then I'd walk 3 miles a day, and then drum for probably 3 4 hours a day. So
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of stuff then, and obviously not eating sugar or eating anything like that, but So other than my weight going up, and then I have a jaw problem. That's why my left side looks way worse than my right
Can't
side.
tell. Can't tell.
Well, you're so nice and modest because a lot of
No,
people
it's
can't
true. I
tell.
can't
So,
tell.
oh well, I can just by looking at my face. But that's why, if you notice, I go this side more than I do this side for some reason. But basically, it really kind of it was weird because I was towing during the pandemic a lot. So my sabbatical
Oh, yeah.
was kind of during all COVID. So I
Yeah.
didn't drum a lot. I was actually out on the roads and the freeways
Yeah.
helping people. So for me, it wasn't maybe I guess as damaging on music, minus the stuff that was already planned. Obviously, got thrown out the window.
Yeah.
But I had to I had to work, because before COVID, I was actually drumming full time, and I had stuff lined up,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do. And it went bye bye, which I know 100% of musicians around this community, same thing. And so I had to, again, I have a family, so I can't make money drumming. I go to work. So
Right.
I got into towing, and then I did that kind of pretty much through the pandemic and a little bit after the pandemic, and then now I'm back to drumming pretty much full time again. But it was pretty mentally exhausting. I got COVID 3 times during that time. One time I got COVID. Yeah, I got the vaccine. So what? Sue me. I don't care. Um, you
Didn't
know,
really stop it. It just made it milder.
just here's the thing. It's like any vaccine, and this is what I think people don't understand. I'm just gonna say it one time, and I don't want no negative comments on this because I'm not gonna be negative. So let's not be negative with me, okay? Is that I got the vaccine no different than you get the flu shot. It's no different. Same thing, same concept. It's not to keep you from getting it completely. It just gives you a dead virus to help you fight it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. If you don't want to get the shot, that's fine. That's your choice. You're an American. That's your choice to make that choice. When it comes to getting forced to get it, I don't agree with that at all. I think everyone should have a unique choice. But other than that, that's all I'm going to say on that matter. But I got COVID. I got real sick. I didn't go to the hospital. So I went back to work. And this was probably the scariest thing for me. I was driving. I had a call up in Enumclaw. So I was driving my tow truck, and I felt some discomfort in my chest. I'm driving up the hill, and I get pain in my arm. So I'm like, that's not good. And so I pull up to the top of 410. I can't breathe. And I'm like, what is going on? So I call my fiance. I'm like, hey, hon, how's it going? She's like, hi. And she's like, I think I'm having a heart attack. And she's like, why in the hell are you calling me? Call 911. This is how I'm weird like that. So then I called my mom. And she's like, I think I'm having a heart attack. You better call 911. Why are you not calling 911? So I get to the top of the hill. I call 911. I don't really remember this, but the medic told me this. They kind of found me a little bit slumped over, but I was still conscious, but I just wasn't talking. And I remember looking at the medic, and I remember he came up to my truck door. They had opened the door and kind of pulled me out my truck, took all my gear off me. I had to take my gear off me, cut my shirt off. They thought I had a heart attack. But ends up what happened is I have a thing called costochondritis, which is inflammation of your sternum.
Yeah.
So like here, it can last a long time, and it can come up in flare up. So there'll be times like I feel like I am having a heart attack, but it's the costochondritis kind of coming back, and it's really painful. It feels like a heart attack, but it's not a heart attack. Um, and so I dealt with that twice. I had to be medically transported twice. The first time wasn't that bad. The second time, it was pretty scary. I woke up at 3. I couldn't breathe in the morning. My mom had to call 911 because I couldn't do it. I was panting real bad. They hooked up EKG. They said my heart wasn't making any sense. So I never been code 3 to the hospital before. So they actually had to run me with lights and sirens down there, put me in a trauma room, and there's all these people around me. They had to put, my blood pressure was like 190 over like 120. So I was not in the best of days. But I got through that, and I've been pretty good ever since. Um, I have a thing called pseudo seizures. It's stress-induced seizures. So if either being overexerted, or over, worked, my body just fries itself, and then I just shut down. I had one at a show recently, so that was fun. People like to want to call 911. I say just let me go through it. If it's
Yeah.
bad enough where it lasts longer than 10 minutes, obviously call. But I know how they go usually, so
Yeah.
that's why I don't call 911.
You know,
Um,
that's amazing that you have these physical issues that you have to deal with, and you still keep pursuing drumming, which takes a lot of physical strength
mhm.
and endurance to
I've
do.
been trying to get back into shape for that very reason because
Yeah.
I'm way heavier than I was. And, I mean, yeah, am I in good shape to play drums? Yeah. Can I be in way better shape to play? You have
Yeah.
no idea. Yes, I
Exactly.
can. And a lot of the older videos you saw of me, not the ones I sent you, but the older ones before that, I was around 215 pounds.
Mhm.
So I was really cut then and in good shape. And also just drumming, the flowing of my muscles, everything felt better. It didn't feel like, this was a struggle or whatever. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah,
So,
it's physically demanding.
what was during your career, before we go on to what gigs you might have coming up or where people can find you,
Mhm.
just really quickly, what was your best time ever at a gig that made you feel like, or maybe it's a lot of them, I don't know, that made you feel like you're on the right track and that even with all of these
Mhm.
issues that you fight through,
Mhm.
that you made you feel like you should be doing what you're doing?
United by Music, July 4th, 2019, Riverfront Blues Festival, Portland, Oregon, was the one gig. There's probably 10,000 people there. Uh, there was a big, I mean, I never seen a crowd that big. Um, Big jumbo screen with the camera
Oh,
crew,
yeah, yeah,
and they were going back and forth, panning us and shooting
yeah.
us. And but what it was amazing was watching the singers sing, watching the crowd's response. I was drumming in a way I haven't drummed before. There was a short time where I got way cockier than I should have been, had a
Oh,
chip on my shoulder, wasn't drumming the best as I was drumming not as good as my mind was,
yeah.
you know. When I got rehabilitated, one of the biggest things was learning how to fill, drum fills, cut the space in half, whether it cues a verse, cues a chorus, cues a bridge, cues an ending. And when I did that show on July 4th, 2019, it was like we were just this whole V12 engine, just all heads firing, flames shooting out things. Everything was just clean all through the whole board. It was the best show. There's only one other show that's topped that, and that was Sunbanks that I did with United by Music this summer in May. But when it comes to the all time though, that was one of the best of all time on the straight fact that everyone was firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
Everything was tight. The crowd was just amazing, and there was just an emotion like I don't know how to explain it really. It was just one of those euphoric, just what I mean. It's just like it's just
Yes.
amazing,
Yes.
and that's what made me go. I think I can do this. And then of course COVID hit, but but through that though, that's the one gig I would go back and watch, even on my saved videos. I still watch it to this day.
That's great, Malcolm. We had another comment here. The comment is, so what a great story. The picture you paint is perfect.
Well, I really appreciate whoever said that.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
can't
I think
tell.
I don't paint a perfect picture or a picture in general, but all I want people to learn is, and I think what I would want my legacy to be is if everyone had wondered, is I want to be known I did my job. I was good at my job. I did the best I could. I left my heart on stage and I did what I could. And I want other people to know if they have disabilities like myself. Yes, because
Yes.
I talk a certain way. People think I'm not disabled. I got like a report like this thick, so it's not like I'm making it up.
Yeah.
That's another problem I dealt with
Yeah.
my whole life. People thought I was making it up to get ahead. And I said, if you would only known,
Yeah.
I tell people, I mean, how dare you think I make it up?
Yeah.
One of the people I was good friends with as a bandmate, he said that I made COVID up to get out of shows. I'm never one to get out of shows. You got to put a bullet in me if you want me to play. But the COVID had me so weak I could barely move.
Oh, yeah.
So and also I care for my bandmates, and I don't want to get them sick. So of course I'm
Right.
not going to play. But why would I fake that? If that's the case, I would have been there.
That's
But
so how can we find you, Malcolm? Where can they? What do you have coming up? What's
um, July 10th, Brian Bach and the Crossroads. I have a gig. Lion Pride's music. I don't even know if that's a private gig or not, so I hope I didn't just cause a problem with that one. But I don't know about that one though. But I know July 23rd, Joe Dredd, Almost Human. He hosts the Breast Fest at Slim's Last Chance in Seattle. I'll be playing with two bands that day. I'll be playing with Theo, my bassist from Blizzard, Seattle, the
okay?
Aussie tribute band.
Okay.
Um, and his girl Laurel, and then a guy named Fred on guitar. I don't even know what the band's called, but I know we're gonna play a little couple songs for that. And then
Yeah.
Blizzard, the new Aussie tribute band on the scene, which is, I think, in my opinion, is gonna take the world by storm. I mean, the guys that I play with are gods. Just they're the top of the top. Okay. We're gonna be playing later that night, July 23rd. I don't know what time yet. Obviously, between now and then, I'll post that. But
Do you
we
have a
are
website? Do you post these on a website?
just on my Facebook usually, and then people can see
Okay.
it. But I got that gig, and then I have August 12th. We'll be Blizzard again, but we'll be at Tony V's at night, and then we'll be in the daytime. We'll be up at Everett Music Festival somewhere up there.
All
So
right. So you have
that's for
lots of
Blizzard.
opportunities to see Malcolm.
Yep, and then I got United by Music gigs as well. I got one in Gig Harbor October 3rd, or no, sorry, August 3rd. We'll have the game there. But I got a lot of different shows, and I'll post them on my
Oh,
wall
great.
in here so you
Good.
guys can see them.
Good. If you can, do post some matured musicians too.
Yep, I will.
All right. Well, it is actually 1:01, so I've gone over my time. It went pretty fast.
I did.
Yeah, so I do want to thank you very much for coming and sharing your story with us, Malcolm.
Yes.
It takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing and stamina, and it's a story about not giving up, a story about doing what you love, and I
Hmm.
thank you for that.
Well, and not only do I want to thank you for interviewing me, the last thing I want to leave this on is that, I just want other people to know that are struggling is that, yeah, I may not be making it when it comes to like the Foo Fighters or those guys, but I
Yeah,
want to tell people no matter what disability you have, don't quit. If someone tells you you can't do something, it's not
prove
you
them
that's the
wrong.
problem.
Yeah.
It's them and their insecurities, and that if you have a gift, you just keep using it because everyone's unique and special. And like my cousin once told me, everyone deserves a place in this world, and that's why I want to leave it with.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
guys.
for coming
You have a
on.
great time. All right,
All
bye.
right. Bye
Bye.
bye, Malcolm. Sorry. Well, that's it for today. I want to thank you all for listening. And I do have another gig next Monday. Watch for the advertisements and you'll find out who's playing. I think you'll like it. In the meantime, have a very happy 4th of July. And, don't give up. My words, my advice to myself. Hang in there. Things get better slowly, but they do get better. Good night. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great 4th again. All right, let's see if I can